that as soon as we go live and they say, hey, you might want to edit that out. No, we're not going to edit it out. This is how we wait for people to come in. We tweet the link out.
You're not editing out.
No, let me tweet it out now.
You have to just deal with it. Suck it up.
Basch The Brain live. And I don't want to pat our backs too much, Willie.
I do.
But the people wanted more consistent shows.
Yeah, now they do it.
And this is where it starts to get harder to do weekly shows. You don't have 79 guys entering the portal. Oh, you tweeting it out?
Yeah.
Tweet it out. I'm tweeting it out. I'm gonna put it on Facebook.
You gotta be able to do shows. Anybody can do shows when there's a lot of news. If you can't do shows when there's just a little bit of news, then you're a bum. You're a bum.
I want to start a podcast is the modern day let's start a band that people were doing 30 years ago. Everybody want to start a band. Now everybody wants to start a podcast. Do it, but be consistent. It's not easy. God.
Too many people have podcasts.
But they weed themselves out. I don't like.
Too many people have small businesses as well. Too many people have restaurants. I bet you it's similar. I bet you it's similar. The number of small businesses that fail is probably corresponds with the number of podcasts that fail. Maybe even greater. Podcasts might fail at a greater rate.
They definitely do because there's such a little barrier to entry. You can get a phone and a computer and you can have a podcast. At least with a restaurant, you got to put money up. You can't.
Yeah. All right, nothing. Your podcast can't get canceled. If you have one listener, you can stay up. You just stay up. You can have 0 listeners.
Yeah, and by the way, there's people that have like no listeners for 50 episodes, and then episode 51 takes off to the moon.
Yeah. I feel bad sometimes. I do when I do the first word live sometimes there's only like 30 people listening live, and I'm like, man, nobody's listening to this. But I do it weird times. It's behind a paywall. A respectable amount watch the archive, but I'm not taking out behind the paywall. Listen, it's an added bonus if you subscribe to Matt Scouts for the rankings and the previews and the recruiting stuff, and then you get the show. And if you don't, you don't. It's I don't care if there's 30 people or 3,000 really.
They told us in the chat that they're live on Flow right now. Since when are they live at 5 p.m.?
I don't know. I don't even look at Flow. I mean, I'd look at Flow.
Maybe
Flow. I don't pay attention to.
Maybe post Memorial Day weekend or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I saw something that they did a show this morning. I don't know.
We got Ron and Aaron in the chat who
are
saying they're live.
They got what you call it. They got engagement farmed, I think. That guy, that global wrestling order guy, that seems like a really good dude, and I can tell if a dude is like a good dude. Well, on one hand, he's a good dude, but there is nobody in wrestling that gets more shit than me, and I'm okay with it. Right? I'm okay if you think I had a wrong take. I don't get it for my take so much. I get it more for like my attitude. But anyway, if you can take it and give it back and you can absorb it, you're probably a good dude. And that global wrestling order guy, he's been like engagement for me, and I'd be like, bro, come on. You forgot about this guy. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Good point. That's a good dude. However, he is engagement farming. He is trolling a little bit, right? Like top 5 wrestlers. Did you see that top 5 wrestlers at Penn State, right, thing? And first of all, everybody's like missing the point. He literally put in there, including freestyle. And people are like missing the point of freestyle. Number one. Number two, Flo took the bait and is now did a show on it or is doing a show on it.
I know it's engagement farming when somebody says, as soon as somebody sent me the tweet, I think it was when you responded to him. It said top 5 non-negotiable. Well, obviously, when somebody makes a top 5 of sports, it's never non-negotiable. That's not what it is. That you want to anger people. You want people to say, "What do you mean?" It's like that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, they bit that hook. He set the hook. They snapped down on it.
I mean, listen, that's the hard part of being consistent.
I see people too on Twitter. I was telling you off air, but I didn't finish the story. I saw a guy. His profile looked like he had a really nice logo, and he had a graphic, and it was toughest places to play football at a road game, and he put a really nice graphic, really nice logos, and but he was clearly missing some stuff, and like
what were the graphics?
Most electric football players in college football history, and he was like missing some guys, but he looked all buttoned up. It looked nice, and then I clicked on him, and he had like 100 followers, and I'm like, this just proves that you can just. But it had so much engagement.
Yeah,
it looked buttoned up. He looked like an account that's been was an authority on something.
Was it a blue check?
I don't remember, man. I don't remember.
Well, that's why, honestly, I tell people who are serious about their brand all the time. Like, if you're serious on Twitter, spend $100 a year for the blue check, because not only can you monetize your content and get paid, but on top of that, if you buy premium, it expands your reach. And that's how somebody like that with only 100 followers shows up in the feed. And if it looks nice, you're like, oh, they're verified. This looks nice. Let me engage. And that's how they grow.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is you can look the part, but sometimes looking the part doesn't make you the authority on things, right? Like you can just, anytime in sports, anytime in like anything, in politics, you could throw up a list, top 5 something, and people will start talking. It is the easiest thing.
Should I put one up right now? What should I do top 5? I did top 5 meat when you tried to poo on what was it? Prime rib.
Top
right.
5.
Should we dive into some wrestling, Willie?
Let's talk about wrestling. Well, first, what'd you make? Did you smoke anything on Memorial Day?
We did a pork shoulder. So we did pulled pork. And my wife and I are both trying to be healthier and lose a little weight. So so instead of French fries, we did because I like pulled pork over French fries with bacon, cheese, barbecue sauce is delicious.
That sounds like a heart attack.
Exactly, that's the problem. So we did it over baked potatoes. So cut a baked potato in half. You have a baked potato, pulled pork, barbecue sauce.
We're way off the rails here, but. What's your feeling on those? There is starting to be a lot of different restaurants, a lot of different places are starting to serve these monster baked potatoes just loaded.
I don't get them, but when I go to a restaurant, I like to get stuff that I don't cook well. So I don't typically get things that I won't get brisket or pulled pork or ribs or even steak sometimes. I like to get things that I'm not going to cook well.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I don't typically get them. But yeah, we did pulled pork over baked potatoes, salad. It was good. Then we did some sausage last night, some beef hots, nice little cookout.
All right, let's start with wrestling.
All right, 10 minutes in. That might be a record for the side talk. Listen, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, you guys, I was told by a buddy of mine that I need to be more encouraging of making people hit the like button and subscribe. Because people hop in and more people watch the video than are subscribed. So y'all are just clicking a link when we tweet it out. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Willie's Rockfin. Be the support. Be the support. All right, let's talk some wrestling. I don't need a
start with?
sunscreen. Fellas just telling me Baschamania needs a sunscreen sponsor. Listen, it rained for 2 weeks straight here. So you know what I did yesterday?
He knows. He just called me. He knows we're live, and he just called me.
So yesterday I was in the sun all day. No sunscreen, no nothing. I'm Kyle Dakin it.
You don't.
Feller says that's a lie. You don't have any buddies. He's a punk.
How about Aaron Bartlett? Speaking of wrestling, what's up with TJ Stewart?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
All right, where do you want to start on today's show, Willie?
I had heard, just to answer Aaron's question, I had heard he had to get some academics in line. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a straight up eligibility thing, but I heard had to get some. That could be true or not true, but that's what I was told. And I don't know if that means he failed the class or that means that when he transferred, because sometimes in your progress to degree, some of the credits that transfer, some of them don't transfer, right? Whenever you go from one school to another school. So maybe there's something like that. I don't know. So I don't know. That's what I heard is up with TJ. But you're right. It's been a while since we heard any news on TJ.
I'll be honest. I miss the transfer portal chaos. I miss it. I was addicted to it.
It's great. There was just an article today. 5 minutes before we got on. Kirby Smart was at the SEC meeting saying the number one thing that the coaches want clarity on, and it's on ESPN, by the way, is there's 2 transfer portal windows, one for football, one in December, one after April, and they want to go to a 1 window a year, but I don't know. But there's also kids transferring whenever they want. That doesn't even have to be a portal window, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's funny because I'm sure you get the same thing. I'll get a random wrestler that will text me and be like, hey, how did so-and-so go in the portal? How did so-and-so transfer? And it's like, well, they really didn't. They're a grad transfer, so they just basically walked on and enrolled. Like, there's always these loopholes, and even the wrestlers seem dumbfounded sometimes when they happen. And they're like, how is this possible? Sometimes I have an answer, sometimes I don't, but it is wild.
Yeah.
They need
Is
to
there
do
anybody else? TJ's out there. Is there anybody else of significance out there?
Let's look.
We should have talked about it. I didn't think we'd get on this topic. We should have been researched, but.
Well, I feel like transfer portal is so. TJ Stewart is probably the only big name that I can think of. I'm looking. Jesse Vasquez is still in the portal. Hippolito is still in the portal. Jada Bullock.
All right. Thomas Gilman is suspended for 18 months, apparently. And the situation is that he didn't test positive for something. Okay, so he's suspended via UWW, right? Is that right? Or is it WADA?
Yeah, so I kind of jumped the gun with my reaction because I saw some people basically saying like Gilman failed the drug test. So I read the article. USADA came out and suspended him for 18 months for failure to provide whereabouts. So what that means is when you're in the USADA pool, you have to constantly be telling them. If you travel, if you do anything, if you go anywhere, you have to tell them. And he had 3 strikes against him for USADA whereabouts violations. And when it first came out, all 3 incidents were after the Olympic team trials. They were in like 2 weeks after or a week after the trials, and then it was like August and September or something.
Yes, let's make it abundantly clear that all 3 times he missed has been after his last appearance.
Yeah,
at no point in time, let's be clear, at no point in time Did Thomas Gilman miss or fail a test while he was competing? All of it has been since he took his shoes off the mat. He wrestled one exhibition event, non-sanctioned, didn't mean nothing.
Yeah.
But he wrestled in no USA wrestling events. He wrestled in no UWW events. Nothing that he competed in required a test. So, go ahead.
And so I kind of jumped the gun, and sometimes I don't think about my tweets long enough before I tweet them, because what I said was, essentially, it sounds like he told USADA he didn't tell USADA he's done competing, because that would make sense. You lose at the trials, and then you just don't tell them, and you fail the whereabouts, and they suspend you, whatever. Then I talked to him, and he's like, no, that's not really the case, and he kind of provided the detail. And it is kind of, there's still like some ongoing stuff going, appeals, and what Gilman wasn't really aware of is these suspensions, which is like, so for example, one of them is they showed up to his Penn State address instead of his Oklahoma State address. One of them, there was an issue with when he was traveling to, when they were trying,
trip, right?
they were on a recruiting trip for Marcus Blaze back in March. And so these are kind of some issues that they're working through logistics wise. Like, well, I have a screenshot that says this. Well, there's still ongoing things that they're working through. But what it sounds like Gilman was not under the impression of, and which just turns to be the case, is with an USADA suspension, his USA Wrestling membership is suspended, which means you can't coach, you can't compete, you can't do nothing. It's not just like, hey, you can't compete for 18 months. With this suspension and being on USA Wrestling's ineligible list, it's the same. So he went on the same list Snyder initially went on a couple weeks ago. And Snyder's off. Snyder's off the list, which we can talk about that. But Gilman's currently on the ineligible membership list until next November.
And while I get it, that's not ideal. It's not ideal to not be able to coach, let's say, at Junior Worlds, at U23 Worlds, at Worlds, for 18 months. I mean, why can't he coach at he can be in an RTC practice. You're not banned from it. You could go to there's a wrestling practice happening right down the street. I promise you those people don't have a USA Wrestling card. You don't have to have a USA Wrestling card to be in a wrestling room.
Well, I think it's two things. I don't know the rules around that. But I will say, if there is a rule, let's just say there is a rule, and that club down the street from you, nobody's enforcing. If somebody knows Gilman can't have a USA Wrestling membership, and they see him coaching, and somebody cries and says, hey, NLWC has a coach that doesn't have a USA Wrestling membership card, that's where I think there could be an issue.
Well, so he doesn't need a USA Wrestling card to be in Penn State's room. That's for sure. Not every college coach and not every college wrestler has a USA Wrestling card. That's 100% for sure. You don't need a USA Wrestling card to be in a college room.
I don't know the rules on that side. I just know that there is a serious talk right now and a concern that with this, if he cannot coach until next November, and I talked to him for a little bit, and his understanding and my understanding, like based on what he's told me, is you need to have a USA Wrestling membership and a card to do what he's doing, and if he doesn't, that presents problems.
Tony Ramos just texted me, you need a USA Wrestling card to coach at an RTC. Yeah, but you don't need one to be in the room at Penn State. You don't need one to coach down the street at a club called M2 or whatever it's there now. So it's problematic that his job is an RTC coach and he can't coach at an RTC. That's problematic. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's the end of the world. They find a loophole for 18 months and he's clear.
Hey, Tony Ramos, he's always watching the show. Always. He's a faithful listener.
It's my guy.
Hop in the chat, Tony. Don't be selfish. Hop in the chat. If you
Tony's running around. He got 2 phones. Tony's big time. He got multiple phones. He's running around. His kids are big hockey players. He's coming up here this weekend. He's coming up here, Philly and Jersey, and his kid's 10 and is playing in these like super duper competitive youth hockey leagues. And I was like pumped to see him, but I'm going to Geneva.
Yeah, Tony needs to hop in the chat. And by the way, Tony, Willie, you it's always funny when you say, like, you'll throw a name out there like, Army's considering Tony Ramos. And then Tony gets calls, Tony gets texts. Well, Willie said, so I texted him, I go, listen, you're going to have to break the news on Baschamania if that happens. Like, Willie's out here, dropping your name for the potential here. So we got to get Tony in the chat. We got to get Tony just on the program to chime in. Avid listener.
Yeah, I mean, I was told that Army, Ramos is one guy the Army's looking at. Yeah.
So for the Gilman thing, it is currently all still being worked on. There's appeals. There's different things. This is not. I was wrong by my assumption. Just looking at it, at the end of a workday was just like, he probably just told me he wasn't competing. And then I talked to him. That's not really the case. So
well, I mean, no, it wasn't the case. But
I just got when I saw people saying like right away, like, oh, USADA suspended Gilman. He failed the drug test. This and that. I went to his defense so fast because I knew what the actual that it's like. I misspoke on the backside of it, saying this was just him not saying he's not competing. But
a byproduct of the whole thing, right, is the people coming out of the woodwork and saying, well, he must have been doping. He must have been doping. Yeah. And to which I defended, too, on just about every message board, saying it doesn't mean he's doping. And, like, Thomas Gilman was part of that era where there was a missed Olympics, right? The Olympics was pushed back. So Thomas Gilman was part of that era where he made a world team, he went to the Olympics, and he went to the Worlds again. He wrestled 3 Worlds in 12 months. Mm-hmm. Okay? He wrestled 3 Worlds in 12 months. He medaled at every single one of them, I think. He was tested 3 times. You don't test, come back clean, test, come back clean, test, come back clean. And then the logical assumption is he dodged the test because he was doping? What fucking planet are you on?
By the way,
right? Now, I am not saying there's no way on God's green earth that Thomas Gilman didn't take something he shouldn't have. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you are a moron if a guy gets tested, to assume that he was on something. He just pissed clean 3 times in a year.
By the way, the USADA is a 3-strike policy, and the incidents of the whereabout failures happen in April, August, and September. He's been tested after September 2 or 3 times and has passed easily. Like, he's still testing. There was just issues with, again, like, it was travel. It was Oklahoma State versus Penn State. It was like there's nuances to the whereabouts strikes.
This happened to Kamal Bey, right?
I remember the
suspension. Kamal Bey was suspended for missing tests. Kamal Bey was suspended for missing tests.
So we'll see what happens, but it angered me because like people will read one line of an article that says, hey, forfeiture of medals and points and prizes. He didn't compete during that time. There was nothing to forfeit. Like
he didn't compete.
there's people saying like, give back his Olympic medal.
Hey, remember when he medaled at Worlds? He tested clean. Remember when he medaled at the Olympics? He tested clean. Remember when he medaled again at the other Worlds? He tested clean. There's nothing to give back, you dopes.
I'm surprised you did that without a voice.
Me too. Any update on Kyle Snyder? Give us an update on Kyle Snyder.
All signs point to him competing at Final X. He's in the room. He's training.
Nice.
He's off the ineligible list. So, barring a last minute like, hey guys, I'm not going to compete. Like, as of now, he's competing. He's training to compete. Aaron Bartlett, make him forfeit the $25 a month USA Wrestling gives him. The number's probably accurate. So all signs are pointing to Snyder competing in a couple of weeks, which was your initial. We talked about it like.
Yeah, I'm not saying when I said yes, I mean good for him. I'm not talking about. I mean, I'm not placing any value judgments. If you want to think what Kyle did is abominable, I'm not going to argue that. That's your values. What I'm saying is, I believe that the best thing for Kyle Snyder is to wrestle again. That's all I'm saying.
And it sounds like he's thinking the same. Like there's a lot going on that he has to deal with as a fallout from this. And
Wrestle Madness wants a hippie voice. Hey man, Gilman wasn't on no dope, man. He was just living his life, man, feeling it, the vibes, the breeze. He wasn't on no hot sauce, man.
Oh, Wrestle Madness. Yeah, I love him. All right, so yeah, I think Snyder's competing. And honestly, like through this whole thing, it did make 97 kilos more exciting with Hayden Zillmer, a former world teamer, coming down. It's going to be interesting now. Like, Zillmer knocked off Gwiz for the spot when he made the team in 2022. I can see the delay in the chat. Like, Wrestle Madness is just now getting to the voice as we're like, a minute or two past it. But, yeah, I mean, Snyder versus...
So, what's the date on Final X?
June 14th, the day before Father's Day.
June 14th, the day before Father's Day. That's so funny.
So I got to, figure out...
That's so funny because everybody's going to be wanting to, do stuff on Father's Day, and guess what all the college coaches are going to do?
So I got to figure out what my travel's going to be like. I wish I could just get Baschamania's plane.
Father's Day, and all the fathers are going to be calling the class of 2027 because that's the first day you can call. It's the first day you can call a recruit.
Oh, that's right, June 15th, Sunday.
So, I mean, God, I'm sure USA Wrestling has to get their ducks in a row and everything got to be kosher and legal. But, man, it'd be nice to have an announcement at some point, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know what the excitement's going to look like because from a Snyder, NLWC, from all that standpoint, there's never been he's not competing. There's never been
and now he's off the safe sport list. So if you're off the safe sport list,
the assumption is you're competing. Until somebody says otherwise. And I didn't catch it, but somebody was just DMing me while we're live saying that Piles on FRL said there's a potential that Vito might delay the wrestle off against Jax. And if he does delay it, I hope not. But if he does delay it, he could do it up to 48 hours before. And now I'm thinking, it's interesting, Snyder can't do that. Only a returning world medalist can. So only Spencer and Vito are the only two who are sitting out from the world championships. They're the only two who could delay a wrestle off. So even Snyder, like my point being, if Snyder wanted to delay it as a world medalist, he could say, how about I get another month? Let's compete.
What does he need to delay the wrestle off for? Why would he need to delay the wrestle off?
He doesn't.
The hooker didn't take that much out of him. Was he fatigued? Come on. That's out of bounds.
No. That's out of bounds. Are you talking to yourself?
That was too easy of a joke.
My point being, like, I think Snyder's going to compete. I think he's going to be there. He's going to compete, and I don't think unless we hear otherwise.
No, well, I mean, they could. I mean, is it beyond the realm of possibility that Vito delays his? Is it beyond the realm of possibility that USA Wrestling says due to the proceedings of Kyle Snyder, we're pushing this one back?
No,
Also.
that won't happen. I'm just saying,
No.
if he was a returning world medalist, would there have been I'm imagining that was a distraction, albeit if nothing else temporary, but still, that's a month out from trying to make a world team. You're dealing with that. You're dealing with sponsors and partners and like your family, and I'm sure that was, if nothing else, a large distraction. I know he's training right now in the room, but
Yeah, no, I think he'll be fine in that regard. But the veto thing.
Yeah, I didn't listen to it yet. I'll go back and listen to the context. I don't know what Piles said.
Well, I won't. I'll make a phone call and find out for sure what's going on. But not that I don't trust Piles' word. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'll try to get more information than just that.
No, I know. I don't know the context in which he said it. Somebody DM me about it.
But what I'm saying gosh about is Vito's still getting nagging injuries to the extent that he's thinking about. I mean, if that is true, and I'm not saying Piles, there's no reason for me to think. If Piles is saying that publicly, then there is something going on.
Yeah,
to what extent, I don't know. But I'll try to get that. But the mere fact that something's going on is like, man, these injuries keep nagging Vito, that's tough. That's tough. We got to get, speaking of final we got to get a suite.
Yeah, we were talking to Izzy yesterday. We were talking to Izzy yesterday about some Real American stuff, which Izzy might come on here soon. There's some exciting stuff we're working on. So Izzy's going to come on here soon and talk about it. And I've had some people
Izzy style. We're going to get the band back together, I think.
There's people saying like, and they're not saying it maliciously. They're like in DMs, like, Justin, do you think this league will work? What separates this league? And I'm like, honestly, I want to have Izzy on to talk about that because he'll convey to you why he believes this will work versus any other attempt of starting a league. So I'm pumped. Like, soon Izzy's going to come on. Maybe Hogan will come on with him, Bischoff, like, and talk about why they think this one can work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm anxious to hear too, because I want it to work every time that. I mean, I shouldn't say every time. There's only been a couple occasions where somebody tried to make a pro wrestling league work, and obviously for whatever reason they haven't. I want like hell for this one to work. That being said, I keep getting asked, do you think it will work? Why not? And my answer is, I frankly don't know enough about it yet.
Yeah.
I'm willing to help in any way I can possibly help. I'll hand out
flyers to the local Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes. Whatever I can do to help, I'll help. I told Izzy that. But I think me and Izzy, we're going to get together soon and talk about some things. And I just want to learn more about it,
Let's get some chat comments. Keith Got Hard said, Uncle Willie, did you book my trip to Final X yet? Hit up quote-unquote Felters for payment.
Oh, so that's how we got on the Izzy topic was I called Don Bashada the other day, probably a week ago now, and asked about a suite, and he said that the last time they were in Newark, they were like $6,000 or something, but that fit like 20 people.
Yeah.
So like, that's cheap. And bro, I'm telling you, if you ever get the opportunity, wrestling's been growing, and demand has been really great, and so it's been difficult, but it's a little bit more difficult now than it was before. If you ever get the chance to do a suite at NCAAs, to do a suite at Final X, even to do a suite at Worlds, it is so cool. It is so much better.
And honestly, it's not that much more expensive if you're going with enough people that you're like, to be honest, it's harder to get on the wait list to get a suite, like especially for NCAAs. All the other events, it's relatively easy to get a suite. And if you're splitting it with your buddies.
Philly was ridiculously tough.
Yeah.
Philly was ridiculously tough. Don knew a guy, but then our plans changed, so we didn't go in. And then last minute, Izzy got one. And that's how we – last minute, somebody canceled. And Izzy called up, and we all went. But I think we got an in. There's a former Ohio wrestler. Back around Philly time when we were talking about things like this, like how great a suite is at NCAAs, and I was tweeting about it. And a former Ohio wrestler, I knew him when he was a kid. I mean, or knew of him, rankings and stuff. He works for Rocket Mortgage Arena or Little Caesars Arena, whatever it is now. And he DM me. He's like, "Will, you need a suite? Email me." So we got an in.
Love that. So yeah, I'm excited to have Izzy on. I think Real American has an awesome potential with having real money behind it. Having somebody like Hogan who, I mean, when Real American announced what they were doing, because of the presence of Hogan, they had every single media outlet on planet Earth that he can go on because of who he is.
It's on Fox News.
Yeah, like it's on all these platforms. So I think it's very unique. You have Eric Bischoff involved who, I mean, if you're a pro wrestling fan of like WWF, WCW, like the Monday Night Wars back in the early 2000s, late 90s were amazing. Like Bischoff was behind that. So they got a lot of potential. We'll have Izzy on soon to talk about it.
They need, I told Izzy anything. I'm like in preliminary. I told Izzy, I'll mop mats, I'll hand out flyers, I'll do whatever you want. But one thing that I maybe could do is like, what I do is and disseminate information, do press stuff. I don't know.
Ariel Helwani, like again, that's the power.
We need to talk about something, Justin.
Lehigh?
No, his name is Keith Gothard.
I know what his name is. You've said it before. I'm just having fun.
I'm getting text that when you said Keith Gothard, you were dying. They're dying. I didn't know if you knew.
Yeah, you've said his name before. I'm gonna continue to capitalize the H in his name.
Gothard. Yes. Speaking of wrestling growing, right on topic, Lehigh announced a women's program. Really good. I'm so happy for my, I live here. Lehigh's 10 minutes away, and we meaning Easton had the number one girl at her weight in the country this year, Aubrey Kraser, who committed to Lehigh. Wyoming Seminary is right 45 minutes away from Lehigh. Blair is right over here. New York has a lot of talent. Maryland has a lot of talent. Pennsylvania wrestling's growing. And so I'm proud that a university in my community took the bull by the horns and fully sanctioned the program. Of course, we got Lock Haven. East Stroudsburg's 45 minutes away. So we did have some, but Lehigh is
Now,
is
Willie,
a really good, and that's what I always, I don't want to poo-poo the small programs that laid the groundwork for all this. But these girls need the option to not have to decide between, should I go for education or should I go for wrestling? When schools open up like Lehigh, and maybe Columbia comes along, and maybe Princeton, who we all think is on the verge, then these girls can have the best of both worlds: Division I wrestling, education, and their sport.
let me ask you this, Willie, because I don't understand this side of, like, once it actually gets sanctioned. So, Audrey Jimenez, who I think is like a future star for the next 2 quads, she's in Final X at 50 kilos. She lost last year in Olympic trials to Sarah Hildebrandt, who went on to win Olympic gold. Like, Audrey is, if you're bullish on the future of anybody, like, there's proven stars. You have Kennedy, Amit, Welker. Like, you have some upperweight stars. Audrey is as loaded with potential as the rest of them. And she committed to Lehigh last year. And so when she committed to Lehigh, I already thought, honestly, Lehigh had a women's program. What's the difference between when she committed a year ago and what they have right now?
It's fully sanctioned. They're Division I program that compete, instead of at the club level, they'll compete with every other school, like fully sanctioned program. Frankly, like, when I was at Kansas State, say, there was a group of guys that they'd wrestle, right? And they'd go to these NCAA, these club competitions. Even though the school did nothing for them, or very little.
Yeah.
Maybe throw them $500 a year, $1,000 a year. It was literally a club. It was like an activity. So there's clubs all around the country at schools that don't have a program, and that's technically what Lehigh was until now. Now it was very much more robust. It was very much more buttoned up and professional, but now it's fully sanctioned.
Yeah, and Lehigh is only the 6th D1 school to officially add women's wrestling as a varsity sport. So it's awesome.
I met with it was funny because there's actually a girl that went to high school with Derek Fix. Or college with Derek Fix. And so obviously Okie State. But somehow she got up here in this area. Anyway, she's a director of ops for Lehigh. And we're on the suite level at Philly, and I run into her, and she's like, "I'd officially like to meet you and introduce myself, yada, yada, yada." And I said, "Great, I heard good things about you." I said, "Where are you heading to? What suite you at?" She's like, "Oh, I'm going up to the Lehigh suite." She's like, You should come. Our new AD's there." And I'm like, "You know what? I'll take you up on that." So I went in the Lehigh suite, and and she introduced me, and I said, "I just wanted 1 second of your time." I said the coaching staff, Santoro, Dylan, Ray, all these guys, they told me they're getting a new AD, and they said, "You're really, really supportive of wrestling, and you want Lehigh, you want wrestling to be the flagship it is the flagship program, and you want to treat it that way." And they're really excited about that. And I said, as a wrestling diehard, thank you so much. And he went on to say that Lehigh wrestling tradition is great, and we want to keep it that way and have a strong program. And then he gets behind this, right? He gets on board with this. So it's a long way to say I think Lehigh's on the up and up. on the come up with a lot of things, both men and women, and it goes a long way when you have a supportive administration. There was a guy that interviewed for a vacancy last year, so you can probably narrow it down. But he interviewed for a head coach vacancy last year, and he called me. We were talking like once a week for about a month, and I said, you should go, you should interview, you should at least hear him out. And he went, and he was like, he's like, I just got back from there, and the AD said to me, we know wrestling's a big deal here, but they're not going to get special treatment. We don't give special treatment here. We treat each program equally. And he's like, that didn't really sit right with me. And I said, no, it wouldn't sit right with me either.
Right.
I mean, if you're the top performer at the school, you should get treated like such.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome. I think it's a good sign. I hope more and more programs continue to add it at the D1 level.
Do I remember Erin Tomio? Hell yeah, I remember Erin Tomio. She was, her brother was Tom Tomio, who wrestled at Clarion, who also, he still coaches at the club level to some degree. I haven't seen him in a while. But Erin was the head coach. Erin was she was a coach at USA Wrestling on the women's team for years. And then she took the head job at Wyoming Seminary. I don't exactly know why she left, but she left, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And you're right. I don't know what she's doing now. She's awesome. Awesome person.
She got a job 2 years ago coaching at Gannon University.
Gannon. Okay. That makes sense. That's not far from where the Tomios grew up, which is up there towards Erie. They weren't in Erie, but they were close to Erie. So Gannon, good for Erin. She's a really good person. I streamed a couple of their duels, just the Wyoming Seminary women's duels. I was a big supporter of hers.
Love it. Willie, you broke some news yesterday. And when you break news, I know you had a you had a line in our show notes at one time that said, "Why don't you dorks just retweet the person who broke the news?"
Yeah.
And I don't. So personally, I take somebody's tweet and make a graphic form of it and put it on Instagram. And so I also usually, because I'm making it for Instagram and Facebook, I'll put that one on Twitter. But because you called everybody dorks, I started, in addition, retweeting it. But you had some big news over the past couple of days for Junior World Team Trials this weekend that Marcus Blaze is entering, that Seth Mendoza is entering. You're kind of throwing out some Junior World Team Trials nuggets these last few days.
I don't break as much news as I used to. I used to like really chase everything down. I'm just super busy with everything and getting divorced and stuff. So that's a problem. But I was working I don't know, the day before Memorial Day and on Memorial Day on my junior preview, which is up now, by the way. You got to go read a junior preview. It is
25-minute read.
It is every significant head-to-head amongst the field for the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, I break down what they did at Junior Open last year, Junior Open this year, trials last year, little Fargo stuff, some even Super 32 stuff. But it's up now. But I was doing it, and I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, really? Marcus Blaze isn't going to wrestle. I'm like, Marcus is not going to wrestle here? Really? So I called their coach, or I texted their coach. I'm like, is Marcus going to wrestle in Geneva? And he's like, yeah, 61. I'm like, all right, that's great. I'll tweet it. So, Yeah, Marcus is in. That's great. Great for Team USA. Probably not great for some of the other competitors, but hey, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And because Marcus wrestled the senior level, he's not sitting in the finals. But he wasn't sitting in the finals last year either. Ben Davino was. Um, I believe. Is that right? Anyway, it's 61's loaded. I know we if you're watching now and didn't watch the last show we did, you go watch that. The last show we did was full entries for the junior trials, and there hasn't been a whole lot of changes. There hasn't been a whole lot of people that have signed up since Marcus Blaze, the Cortez brother, Seth Mendoza. There might have been one upper weight that came in, but 61 is absolutely loaded. 65 is a really nice bracket with Bo Bassett, Aiden Valencia, Zepeda, Sergio Vega, who didn't wrestle at the Open, and I'm missing who's sitting in the finals. Stanich. Even at 61, Kyler Larkin sitting in the finals. Kyler Larkin beat Sam Herring at the Junior Open, so he sits in finals. And then you got a great group with Blaze and Davino, which are last year's finals.
Well, it seems to me like this. I mean, I'm paying more and more and more attention to it. It seems like over the last couple of years, but the field this year just seems incredible.
Heavyweight is absolutely bonkers and could go in any different direction. And I was putting the finishing touches on the preview today and making my picks at heavyweight, and I'm like, this is bound to make me look stupid because all these matches at the Open, all these guys are so good. All the matches at the Open were either nip and tuck matches or they conflicting head-to-heads.
Right.
Like Kobe Merrill beat Coy Hopke, okay? But on the backside, Rocco Delegata beat Merrill and Hopke beat Delegata. So it's like the matchups were really important. But you got Drayshawn Ross, who was a world team member last year at the cadet level. You got Coy Hopke, who won a cadet world title. Michael Mako, who won a cadet world title. Cole Marasola, who won that whole field, and that's the biggest winner in all this. You do not want to have to go through that mini bracket again because it is the parity there is so deep. You don't want to have to navigate that. And Cole Marasola did it, and he sits in the finals, and all these guys are going to have to pick each other off left and right, and who the hell knows who comes out of that group, but Cole Marasola will be sitting in the finals. Anyway, go read the preview. It's such a great field, and I feel like I think you're also picking up on something. Like back when I was really getting going in this in 2006 and 2007, 2008, 2009, there's no cadet worlds. And nobody really paid attention to that tournament. Back then it was called FILA Cadets. And they didn't really pay too much attention to it. And even FILA Juniors, which is now U20, there wasn't this much attention paid to it. It is a big deal now. When they reinstated Cadet Worlds in 2011, even for a few years, it didn't get a whole lot of pub. It didn't get a whole lot of run. People didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then, and we didn't do very well either. Like 2011 when they brought it back, I don't think we had anybody. Then Adam Kuhn might have won a medal, but like all the other 9 did not place. And again, the next year, all the other 9 did not place. And then Chance Marsteller, maybe took 5th or something. And we had one cadet world medalist. And then Zane won a world gold. But when it really happened, when it really started popping, was when the year I went, and I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but I blew up that coverage. And I don't even know if it was streamed, but I uploaded all the matches. And that team was bonkers. Dayton Fix, Yanni,
I remember that.
Carr, maybe. And I mean, I'll never forget, like, taking a picture and putting it up of Yanni with the flag. And I just think that year got so many people into the funnel of, we're going to start following this. And I think it got kids and club coaches into the funnel of saying, we want to do that.
Yeah.
This thing in America is cool. Super 32 is really cool. Fargo is really cool. But that is cool. And you started seeing more participation at cadet trials. You started seeing more people follow Cadet Worlds. You started seeing more people online talking about Cadet Worlds. And I think juniors followed suit. And now it's like at a point where we tune into the trials big time, right? It's one of our, we know how important it is, and we know that whoever comes out of this, we're going to watch at 3 a.m. wrestle in Sarajevo or something in a couple months.
Well, and so that's where I was just going to go with it, because, two things. One is to wrap up this point. When you have guys now competing that you're having, Bo Bassett has 200,000 followers on Instagram. These wrestlers are a lot more known now when they're competing at something like a Junior World Trials. And on top of that, you have stuff like the Mirasolas in the Penn State Dynasty, and these are their guys coming up. And when you have all these factors, it's bringing so much more attention and hype to wanting to watch these guys compete.
Yeah, that was another big one too. I mean, Spencer winning, I think, was big. Bo Bassett that year winning was big. I had this full walk-off with him. He comes off the mat. He goes back into the tunnels, clap, clap, clap. It's a really cool video. One of my favorite things to do is at a world championship, be it any level, cadet, junior, senior, watch these guys after they win a medal come back into the tunnel and celebrate with their coaches and their teammates that they're back there. And I did that with Bo Bassett. And even in 8th grade, Bo Bassett has such a big brand that those videos blew up. And like the local news station out there in Johnstown, where the Bassets are from, asked me for the file. I said, sure, right? And they ran it on the local news. That's good. There's been a lot of great promotion. There's been a lot of great promotion on the cadet junior level, and man, it means the world to me because it's building the sport, right? When you can go into the world championships and say, the trajectory, right? It's the same reason why the NFL draft is big. You want this player, his story, he had 7 sacks at A&M last year. You remember that big play he made. Well, before cadets and juniors were pumped up and given the pub that it had, there was very little context at senior worlds. You didn't know their story. You didn't know who this guy was, right? Now you know. I mean, hell, like you can tell the story now. Like Yazdani Chirati, he won cadets at like 60 kilograms, then moved up to juniors and beat Aaron Pico at 65, then moved up again. And, he started young. We watched Chirati's whole career in front of us. It's great for the sport.
And you also have guys like Max McAnally competing who looked absolutely incredible in his freshman year at the D1 level. And now we get to watch them compete, at a tournament like this. And also, Another thing, to your point, Corby was just texting me when you're talking about the importance of sitting in the finals. Another thing that's so important about this tournament is best of 3 finals are the same day in this tournament. A lot of times they're the second day. Finals are next day. Finals are next day. For this tournament, we're getting the best of 3 finals that same day. So it's not even like it's a bit closer with how much rest you get. You get the finals the same day, where looking at the schedule, the tournament starts at 9:30 in the morning. Best of 3 finals are at 4 o'clock. So these guys sitting out are going to be well rested come 4 o'clock versus the guys who are competing in the prelims, quarters, and semis starting at 9:30 in the morning.
I was thinking about that too when I'm making my picks, right? One thing I thought about at heavyweight was, and to be honest, if you go read the preview, you're not going to see a lot of wild picks. I went a lot of chalk the way it happened in the U.S. Open, but except at 65, I think I picked Aiden Valencia. But anyway, one thing I was thinking about at heavyweight was like, okay, Merrill beats Hopkey, but then loses to Delegata. Mako beats somebody good, has a really close match with Marisola, who wins the whole thing. But he goes to the backside and he takes a loss and then finishes 5th or 6th. You know, I'm thinking to myself, like, should I count that? Were they really trying their damnedest at that time after they lost the opportunity to win the tournament? And so I was thinking about that. Like, were they as motivated on the backside as where they were on the front side? I'm holding him accountable for a loss to Delegata. But maybe, on a front side, he'll be more amped up. He'll be more enthusiastic. He'll be more motivated. But I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about the sitting. And I was thinking about Marisola, and I was thinking about Stanic. And I'd imagine that, because there's pros and cons to it. The cons, the pro of sitting in the finals is obviously you don't have to navigate that really crazy field where anybody could pick you off. But the con of it is like Bo Bassett and Valencia and Sergio Vega and all these guys, as dangerous as they might be, and they're all really dangerous and probably could beat each other on any given day, but they'll be ready to go for finals. Their lungs are blown out. They're ready to go. Luke Stanic is sitting back in the hallway for 6 hours, right? So I would imagine like Lehigh and Penn State coaches have Stanic wrestle a really hard simulation match, blow out his lungs around, 2 o'clock. Because you don't want to be sitting around all day. You don't want to be dry.
Some comments here. It's kind of crappy to do it same day. Why give such an advantage? Everybody had the opportunity to go to the Open and make the finals. They're incentivizing competition. That's why they're making it such an advantage, is they know the bigger the advantage, the more likely people that are going to be to compete, and to have that incentive that if you win, you get this massive advantage. That's why they do it.
And we're talking about 2 performances, okay? What I don't like about the cadet trials, now I understand it's a best of 3, but what I don't like about the cadet trial, I think the cadet trial should mirror the junior trials, because the cadet trials, so every year when the seniors graduate, I take the seniors out and you redo the rankings, right? Well, what you have left, it is by far the most difficult set of rankings to do, because there's definitely cons to sitting. There's definitely cons to sitting. number one. And number two, you earned that right. But when I do rankings and you take the seniors out, what you're left with are a bunch of underclassmen that largely have a bunch of conflicting results. They're younger, so it's natural, but they have way less consistency. Okay? Well, guess what? That's the demographic that you're working with at cadets. What you want is to ensure your best wrestler. What you want to ensure that the most consistent guy, the best guy, makes the team. Now, I think that's mitigated a little bit with the best of three finals. However, it would be better if they had a tournament to qualify and then a tournament for trials, and not just this one, here we go. And number two, by the way, we're every year, we are determining our cadet world team in April. And they are wrestling cadet worlds in freaking August, September. All right? And these kids grow. They're growing more at that age than ever. So I would like to see cadet worlds mirror junior worlds and have a cadet tournament at Vegas, a trials at a later date. It used to be great when it was in Akron.
What's the difference between Akron and Geneva?
Well, one Akron was always later.
Got it.
Akron was always later, so that helped with the cadets. And two, you had the cadet, and you could go through. You could have. You could go to your regionals. You could go to Central Regional, Northeast Regional. You could go to. I turned Flow Nationals into freestyle for that exact reason. I turned Flow Nationals into freestyle with the precise reason that these kids need more reps against national competition before the trials. And USA Wrestling was great with me. I went to them. I made my pitch. I said they need more reps and they need a incentive to compete. And they said, okay, here's what we'll do. You turn Flow Nationals into freestyle. The winner at each weight gets a bye to the semis. I said, done. I'll do it. And Flow Nationals produced really great talent. Some of the world team members came from Flow Nationals. But what you had was, you had this tournament, which they got reps in, to tune up for trials. And they don't have that no more. They don't have that for the cadets. They have it for the juniors. And the juniors go, winner gets a bye to the finals. So not only does it incentivize the winner, it incentivizes all the top talent to go to two tournaments so that and you ensure a consistent quality representative.
Yeah.
Keith, here's another thing is the proof is in the pudding. The proof's in the freaking pudding. Look at included in that cadet or junior world team trials preview. Included in that world team trials preview is the last 8 years of junior world team results. We have not missed the podium one time. From 2005 to 2016. From 2005 to 2016, we made the podium 3 times. We went like 6 years without hitting the podium. From 2017 to now, we haven't missed. So our trial system is fine.
Okay.
The most asinine thing, this is a comment from Slap the Mat. The most asinine thing is the winner of this year's U23 is not knowing if they're on the team for another 3 weeks after the fact.
That's every year.
U23 is a different story. First of all, I'm not talking about U23s. I'm talking about cadets. I'm talking about juniors. You want to talk about U23s? That's a different subject. I get your point. However, you do realize that, and there's pros and cons to it. You can make your case why it's stupid, and I get it, and I'm not going to die on that hill. But there is a reason why those guys get the spot, right? I mean, they weren't given the spot. I mean, people say, well, Dustin Plott won the U23 trials and Carter Starace was given the spot. Dustin Plott could have earned it the way Carter Starace did. Carter Starace went and wrestled senior level, pal. They weren't given the spot. They earned it. So miss me with this given the spot shit. They earned it. Hey, speaking of, man, I tell you what, I could not have a better topic. Junior and cadet worlds are my favorite.
I know.
And maybe Super 32, maybe Fargo. But cadet and junior trials and cadet and junior worlds, I could not talk long enough on the subject. I just absolutely love it. I love going there and seeing them wrestle for the first time on an international stage, and our young guys who are just damn hungry, and they're just green, you know. They're hungry dogs that want to fight, and I don't know. Maybe it's because they're kids. I just see there's a purity about it, and I love it. But how about Junior Worlds? Junior Worlds are going to be in Vegas in a couple years.
That'll be exciting. I'll go to that. I will definitely go to that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, I'm 100%. I'll let you know what the circumstances are for me to be 1,000%.
But yeah,
are you going to Bulgaria this year?
I mean, I don't know. I'm definitely going to Athens. I talked to Olenowski yesterday. I would really like to do a big thing for the cadet world team this year. Hire a shooter and do some videos and stuff. But I might be on the call for finals too.
That'd be good.
And semis from Worlds.
You and Sean Kenny?
No,
sign me up for that.
Me and Olenowski.
I thought Sean does them.
Not cadets. I think he does juniors.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, so I love that it's in Vegas. I mean, part of me doesn't care that it's in Vegas because, like, I'd probably go to it if it was overseas. But maybe it'll get more people in the funnel. You know, maybe it'll get more people like, all right, it's in the U.S., I'm going. And maybe they go overseas in future years. Because most of the time, I mean, one thing that's bad about Worlds is a lot of times, especially juniors, cadets not so much, but like cadets, the crowd, there's no freaking crowd.
But to be fair, but to be fair to the current crop of studs, how many people do you think are not going for the Junior World Team Trials this year? Like, you haven't really said, I wish so-and-so was competing. I wish so-and-so was throwing his hat in the ring. Like, for the most part, the contenders are there.
No, I'm talking about the crowds at Worlds.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about, like, more so the competitors.
No. And that's another thing, too, when you talk about the evolution of cadet and junior Worlds and then the publicity that it gets and the shine that it gets and the volume of social media that there is around the trials and the volume of social media that there is around Worlds when it comes is, hell yeah, 10 years ago? 10 years ago, it'd be like, damn, why didn't this dude do it? Where's this guy? I wish this guy was here. If this guy was here, I don't know if he'd be a strong contender to make the team. I don't know if he'd win it, but he would push our guys so that they would be better. That would, we more insurance. right? That was 10 years ago. Now, like you said, who's missing? There ain't nobody missing. There's really nobody missing. We get all the top contenders. You know, one thing really crazy, Kyle Snyder never wrestled at cadets. He never even tried. He never even went to cadet trials. Is that not bizarre? Kyle Snyder.
That is crazy. And honestly, Willie, like, maybe people don't look that far ahead, but I'm pretty sure the schedule is like U20 Junior World Championships could be in Vegas in 2026. Senior World Championships in Vegas in 2027. 2028 Olympics in LA. For 3 straight years, we could get World Championships in the U.S. That's amazing.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep. And perhaps overdue. We haven't had a world event. We haven't had a world event. Well, we had Senior Worlds in 2015.
Yeah, it's the last time, right?
We had Senior Worlds in 2015. I don't recall before that. They did have Worlds in New York one year. Obviously, 94, 96 was one of the Olympics was in Atlanta one year.
96.
But we haven't had a world championship. It was at 2015, and then prior to that, we had a bunch of World Cups. And frankly, the only reason we had World Cups, and we had it in 2 locations. We had it in L.A. for a couple years, and we had it in Iowa City for a couple years. And, you know, the only reason that we had them, so we had World Cup 4 or 5 times. And the only reason we had them is because American millionaires put up money. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to host the thing. It's a money loser. I don't know. So, and now it is no more. I mean, we don't even have them. That's what always kills me about college people saying duels rock. Yeah, duels rock. Yeah, duels rock. Duels rock. People in the world don't even want to have them.
Yeah. All right, what else you got, Willie?
What else? Anything in the doc? Oh my God.
Oh, you saw my note in there.
Yeah, I saw your note. I did have one last thing because I was going through junior world or junior trials entries, and I'm like going through it, and in the preview I have, you know, who was in the finals last year, and I come across Gabe Arnold, and then start thinking, yeah, Hawkeye Wrestling Club, and then they have this guy Brody Sampson who placed 7th or 8th at the Junior Open, Hawkeye Wrestling Club. So, and then like a light bulb went on. I was like, where the hell is all the Iowa guys? Like, we didn't see it. There weren't many at the Open, right? Senior, junior. There weren't many at the trials, challenge trials. And there's one guy here. I mean, if you don't count Bo Bassett, there's like one guy on Iowa's whole team at the junior trials. Like, where is Iowa just didn't wrestle this summer? I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't register too many guys. I mean, you had what? You had Caliendo and DeSanto at the senior level. A lot of the college guys didn't compete this year. I don't know if Keeter I know had surgery, so a couple of guys I'm sure just
Keeter's understandable, but like,
is there somebody specifically who stands out? Like you're wondering where they were?
You know, I mean, I didn't think it all the way through. I didn't think, wow, why aren't they competing? But like, I mean, on the surface, nobody competed. Caliendo competed. Who was the other one you said?
DeSanto and Caliendo competed.
Right. You can count on one hand the number of guys from Iowa that competed at any age level this summer. One of them's name is Brody Sampson.
I don't know if some of these guys
now,
like.
It could be a weird thing where most of them aged out. Like, let's say if Gabe Arnold is 21 now. Let's say Gabe Arnold's 21. He can't wrestle U20s, and U23 spot is probably taken by some senior guy or something, right? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's why there's not incentive for Gabe to wrestle. But, I mean, you got to think some of them are eligible to wrestle somewhere.
Even on the senior level, I mean, Iowa was kind of light at the U.S. Open. You know, it's not like it's just the juniors.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm talking about all age levels.
Yeah.
There's like 5 guys. I mean, Angelo has not wrestled a freestyle match in ages, so I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't like freestyle. I don't know.
And I'm sure Parco and Teamer are both banged up, it seemed like, after the college season. So then, like, I don't know what their plans are either.
Well, I get those guys, but like, they're
the only one. I would say, like, when you said that to me, like, where's Iowa? I would say the biggest one would be Buchanan.
Where's Buchanan? Right? We know Keeter's hurt. Well, I'm not calling any single individual out. All I'm saying is, I'm going through the things. I see Iowa a couple times. I'm like, yeah, Iowa. Where the heck they've been this summer? I don't know.
I did have Drake Ayala on after NCAAs, and he said he was just kind of taking it easy this summer.
Drake, I kind of understand too.
But
like, there's a lot of teams that, I don't know, they got 4 or 5 red shirts on their roster, right? And they're going to get some they're going to wrestle at U20s. You don't see a whole lot of Iowa guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I also just feel like if you look at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, their roster.
Like, look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma, the Sooners, they got like 8, 10 prospect red shirts all wrestling in juniors. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
But how many guys do the Hawkeye Wrestling Club even have right now? Like, they're kind of light. You got Spencer, who's at Final X. DeSanto competed at the Open. Marinelli retired. I don't know where Jacob Warner was. Who else do they have on the
I'm not even talking about the Hawkeye. I'm not even talking about the senior level guys. I'm talking about like Oklahoma. They have all these red shirts, right? They have all these first and second year college guys. Oklahoma got a dozen dudes going.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it granularly and see what's his situation with his. I'm just saying there's a lack of Iowa representation here this weekend. That's all I'm saying.
Where has Jaden Ironman been?
I don't know. Is
he still with the Hawkeye Wrestling Club?
He actually hit me up and said, "Hey, what jobs are out there?" It was a couple months ago. I mean, Jaden's dad, I mean, he was a whiz with technique and training, and I think Jaden would make a really good coach somewhere. I mean, he'll be a very valuable assistant and a guy in the room. I would hire him if I was. Yeah, he should be a college coach. And I'm sure he's had opportunities. I know for a fact he previously had in previous years he's had opportunities. This year I don't know what he's doing, but he asked me about it.
Where's his brother coaching?
Where's who?
Mike coaching right now.
I don't know. Dude, that's a name. Mike Ironman. I mean, I was close to him for a while.
I haven't really heard his name, like, since he was training Jaden. I haven't heard his name too much be brought up.
Well, he was at Missouri for a little bit, and then he went to Brown and started like New England Wrestling Regional Training Center. And then he left there, and he was at a private club in Texas but he's not there anymore. I don't know where he's at.
Forget Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world is Mike
Where's
Ironman?
Mike Ironman?
Shout out if anybody remembers that. The youngins have no clue who Carmen Sandiego is. The youngins have no clue.
What's in the chat? Is that Bob Nichols message board post true? Which post we talking about?
I believe there was a post that was circulating that Bob Nichols said when Brand's done coaching, he's done.
Yeah, that's true.
Being the money guy, basically.
That's true. It's still up right now on Hawkeye Report.
All right, what else we got, Willie?
Why don't you come to Geneva this weekend, pal? We'll have fun. It'll be great.
I have a 3 p.m. flight to Tampa on Saturday, so I need to watch. Listen, I'm already thinking. I told my wife when we were going, I said, yeah, it's a great weekend to go. I don't got to do anything, no podcast, no nothing. And I realized we're going to have to do a recap show live from the Flamingo Room.
I might drive to Geneva and then drive right to Chicago.
See, Izzy?
Hang out with Izzy a little bit.
Well, let's plan on a Junior World Team Trials recap show Sunday morning.
It's going to be such a great. I was going to say weekend,
awesome.
But it's a day.
And then I think U23s are on Sunday, but like somebody pointed out in the chat, like we don't know if they're going to be on the team.
Yeah. Hey, is Final X one day as well?
Yep. First round's 2:00. Second round's 5:00. Second round at 5:00 will turn right into the third round if needed.
And there's going to be like true third matches and stuff.
Yep.
In the morning. Will that be in the morning?
I don't know the timing of that. I haven't heard.
And there's no Greco.
There's no Greco. The Greco World Team's set after the U.S. Open. They're doing Greco only.
Was Final X Newark
2023?
Was that one day?
That was one day, but it was longer because they did all 3 styles.
Yeah.
That was when we were in the suite and we have all the videos, like the terrible, you were just ordering Patron after Patron after Patron bottle. You were inviting in random, janitors.
Sweet life.
I don't know what the true third schedule is, but I know they're doing it. There could be some good ones. We could have, for example, I believe Carter versus Keckeisen could be a true third match.
Wait. How do we determine true thirds?
I
don't even know, dude.
I'm drawing a blank.
All right, Not a Wrestler got us covered.
Yep, Not a Wrestler. I was just going to say that.
Cronin Provo. Hardy Blaze. Andonian Parker. JQ's Blaze. Starachi Keckeisen.
So there you go. There's the matches. Thank you, Not a Wrestler. Are you a coach? Are you a fan? What a great handle, Not a Wrestler. And if you guys
Gotthard's on.
Yeah, Gotthard is on one.
All right, boys.
All right, everybody in the
It's
chat.
been a fun show.
Corby just texted me 12:30 Eastern for true thirds.
I like when we just wing it.
Should we do? I'm coming to Final X 1,000% because Bar's going. Should we do a Final X morning of pre-show from the event?
Yeah, why not?
We got to figure out what we're gonna do with the recap show because June 15th, Father's Day. I'm gonna try to take a car service home. I'm hoping we can go to the event, have a great time. I can hop in a car service, get home, and then we'll do a show first thing Sunday morning.
How much do you think an Uber is from Newark to Rochester?
I'll tell you right now. I'm assuming it's the same if I were to go to Rochester or Newark, right?
I heard a story one time about a kid at West Virginia. He's from New Jersey, but he went to University of West Virginia, and he got all banged up in West Virginia, and he ordered an Uber, and he got in the car and passed out. And little did he know, he didn't program it in his Uber to take him home to his house on campus. He programmed it to take him to home in New Jersey. He woke up like 7 hours later in New Jersey, and it was like $1,000.
Well, and so for people listening, for context, the day after Final X is Father's Day, and I want to be home with my kids, and there's no flights out Saturday night, so I'd basically have to stay in Newark like half of Sunday. So I've contemplated, depending on what the price is can I get an Uber essentially and just hop in a car and let somebody drive me home while I sleep.
Do it. Money bags.
I'm trying to. Well, I mean, it's not money bags. The alternative is I get a flight and a hotel. So
yeah, it's probably the same.
As long as the car service is the same price as having to stay there Saturday night, plus an Uber to the airport, plus the airfare, slap the mat. You can ride back to Rochester with me. What time are you leaving, though? I need to be at home Sunday morning. We got to leave after the event.
Sweet music is being made right now.
I'm driving back to Penfield. But what time?
Slap the Mat lives in Rochester, Minnesota.
No, Slap the Mat lives here in Penfield.
All right, you just got to ride, bud.
I know, but if he's leaving Sunday morning, it's too late. We gotta leave after the event Saturday night. Slap the Mat, hit me up.
Later.
Slap
Go Bills.
the Mat. That's the show. Go Bills.